Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Browns Latest. I'm Dave Grendzynski, but you could call me Grizzer, and this is where we get you caught up on some of the latest news and the tidbits that are tied to our favorite team in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns. Thank you to everyone who has liked their previous episodes. All of you who have subscribed to the channel, we're like that close to 13,000 subscribers. When we get there, we will give the Orange Quarter Zip a rest for just one show. We will change the fit, and thank you to everyone who get your comments down there in the viewer comment section. Now, coming up on today's show, on the day that is expected to be the last in-person interview the Cleveland Browns conduct in their search for a new head coach, we have one of the top candidates pulling themselves out of the running. The Browns also still have almost all of their top candidates on the board now, and the coaching combinations out of this are plentiful. So there's it's not the end of the world. All hope is not lost. Even if Anthony Lynn is not named the next Browns head coach, I think they should still find a spot for him on the staff. And in the viewer comments, a hater wants to know if I get paid for supporting Shedeur Sanders. Well, we'll get down to it, but I mean, I know what I would like to get paid to support the Browns. How about that? All right. Now, first things first. All right, everybody, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. It broke this morning that Grant Udinski is going to get a brand new deal from the Jags. Obviously, they value him tremendously, and they're not going to let him go. And so I felt that this Cincinnati would do the same thing with a pitcher. But, but Udinski, after 2 interviews, has decided he won't be the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. So Udinski is out. The Doogie Howser of football does not want to be our head coach. So we now turn our attention to today. Nate Scheelhaase, the Rams passing game specialist. The Browns brass is flying out to LA today. They will meet with him and go over everything. Now, Anthony Lynn was the surprise interview over the weekend. He's still on the short list. Jim Schwartz, of course, the Browns defensive coordinator, and Todd Monken, the former Ravens coordinator as well. But back to Scheelhaase, who, as you saw yesterday, he's the passing game coordinator for the LA Rams. And now that they are out after losing to Seattle yesterday, he can do whatever he wants now. And boy, oh boy, that offense on full display yesterday. So you get a taste of what he can do. He joined the Rams in 2024 as an offensive assistant, and previously he was an offensive coordinator at Iowa State, called plays there as well. So he does have play calling experience from college, and he's considered a rising star at 35. I like him better because of his age. I've always leaned towards Scheelhaase because he's 5 years older than Udinski, but Udinski does have more NFL experience. But regardless, he's still a highly sought-after young coach. A little more on Scheelhaase. He's known for designing and coordinating a high-scoring passing attack that led the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns. You saw it, like I just said, on full display in that loss to Seattle in the AFC Championship game. He's also known for modernizing Sean McVay's system with heavy creative pre-snap motion and stressing defenses. And you saw that even, too, in that game against Seattle. Like, you see how they use Puka, where they line him up in different spots and they motion him out, and they'll run him on jet sweeps. They even had that one play they were going to run the screen to the left, but it broke down, and Stafford ended up scrambling a little bit to his right, and there was Puka as he was a safety valve on the right side of the formation, and Stafford flipped it out to him for a gain. And so a ton of creativity on offense, and it all starts with Scheelhaase. He draws up these plays. He's the guy who designs these plays, and he elevated Matthew Stafford to an MVP caliber season. He's leading the NFL in passing yards and touchdowns. And they thrive in the red zone, man. When they get in the red zone, very rarely are the Rams kicking field goals, man. They just they get it done in the red zone. And a lot has to do with Nate Scheelhaase and the plays that he comes up with. I mean, he's viewed as a modern age coach for his reliability, communication, and ability to translate game plans to Sundays and considered a boy genius. So the Doogie Howser of football is out, but the boy genius is still in. And now this is his job to lose, in my opinion. And so, I mean, unless Sean McDermott, who is already talking about taking a year off, unless he comes out of the woodwork in the next 24 to 48 hours, I think this is Nate Scheelhaase's job to lose. They want an offensive mind in there. They want an up-and-coming offensive mind, and I think they'll be willing to deal with the fact that he doesn't have as much NFL experience, but I think what they'll do is they'll put the right people under him. And so that's the other thing we want to talk about today. Like, even though, okay, the search is ending, right? And now we're down to Scheelhaase as our young offensive mind, a guy who doesn't have a ton of NFL experience, but if you put the right coaches with him, everything's going to work out fine. Remember, Scheelhaase has never been a head coach. He's never been an offensive coordinator, but he does have play calling experience at Iowa State. I'm sorry, he's been an offensive coordinator in the NFL, and he called plays at Iowa State. You also have Todd Monken still waiting in the wings, right? Monken still hasn't heard from the Giants. Harbaugh's already gotten his defensive coordinator, his special teams coordinator. He's putting together his whole staff. Monken still not there, so that tells me something is still in the works with the Browns. And remember, we told you safeties coach Ephraim Banda was out there interviewing. He interviewed with the Jets, the Cowboys for defensive coordinator position. So he's another guy that could be in the mix here, along with Jim Schwartz. So you have still experience now with Anthony Lynn, former head coach, Jim Schwartz, former head coach, Todd Monken, been in the league, knows the division, along with Scheelhaase. So let's look at some possible combinations, the way this could work out with the candidates that we have left. Of course, Schwartz could be the head coach, and you can make, if Scheelhaase decides he doesn't want to come to Cleveland because it's too cold, Schwartz, Monken OC, and then elevate Banda to DC. Now, nothing wrong with that, because Banda knows the Schwartz's defense inside and out. He's been with him for the last 3 years. We talked about this on a show a week or so ago. So that's not a bad lineup to have. If you get Scheelhaase in the mix, you can keep Monken as offensive coordinator, Schwartz as defensive coordinator, and Monken and Schwartz can act as assistant head coaches, right? If Schwartz is the head coach, maybe Scheelhaase, it would still be a promotion. Because right now, he's just a pass game specialist at the Rams. You pay him a ton of money to come here and be our offensive coordinators. Give him the keys to the offense. Tell him he gets to do everything. Call plays, design them, do it. Go to town. Go to work. And then you could elevate Banda to DC. Still, that's still in the mix. But then there's Anthony. I can't believe Lynn wasn't on more lists than, until late here. Buffalo talked to him. Now we talked to him, but if you make Lynn the head coach, Scheelhaase could be the OC. Schwartz could be the DC. You surround him with experienced coaches that can help him out. And so all is not lost because Udinski is staying with the Jaguars. It's not the end of the world because Scheelhaase is it was Scheelhaase and Udinski, in my mind, that are the top two candidates. So one of your top two candidates is still here. And now it's his job, honestly, to lose. I mean, they've already talked to him once. This is the in-person, unless he completely bombs this interview. Maybe he's going to be tired from the game yesterday. I don't know. But I think this is his job if he wants it. And so, or the offensive coordinator spot, if they talk him into that, give him the keys to the offense, say, this is your stepping stone to becoming a head coach. Become our offensive coordinator, ball out with Shedeur. You already got Schwartz there with the defense. Maybe we'll even bring in Lynn to do something. We're going to talk about that in a second. But there's a lot of combinations where you could build a staff underneath Nate Scheelhaase that will have a ton of experience and be able to help him out. So it's all going to play out today in LA, and we may know something by the end of today because they don't want to miss out on anybody else. They may try to lock this up. I would expect them to try and lock it up as fast as possible. We may know something by the end of today. So things are happening fast. They are definitely happening fast. Now, mention Anthony Lynn. And when I look, when we talked about him the other day, and you look at his NFL head coaching record, he's 33-31 with the Chargers. And remember, he had to go through the pandemic with them. He had to go through the move from San Diego to Los Angeles, and then he also went through the transition. He had Phillip Rivers, and he transitioned to Justin Herbert. He won them their only playoff game of the decade in 2018. Like, he did a lot of great stuff when he was the head coach of the Chargers, and so I couldn't understand why didn't he get more interest, in this round of coaching interviews with any team, outside of us in Buffalo. But I think we got to add him to the staff in some way, shape, or form. He's the running backs coach with the Commanders now, and look what they do with the running back this day. They get Krosky Merritt. That guy came out of nowhere. He does a nice job with the backs there in D.C. So let's get him over here. He's an offensive-minded coach with head coaching experience. If Scheelhaase is the head coach, he can help him navigate the waters of the NFL. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, nothing else, man. Bring him in here as running backs coach and run game coordinator. Deuce Staley's our guy right now, but hey, nothing to say we can't make that change, because remember, we're going to have that. There will be changes. Whoever the head coach is, they're going to bring in their own people. And I think Anthony Lynn would be a great one to have. If you have Lynn on the staff, the best part would be if you could somehow keep Monken on the staff with Lynn and Schwartz. Can you imagine if you had Monken? How about this lineup? With Scheelhaase as the head coach. If you had Monken OC, Schwartz DC, assistant head coaches, and then Lynn running backs coach. You have two former head coaches in Monken. Like, that's a lot of experience, man. And I think you could do way worse than adding Anthony Lynn to our staff. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, man. I don't know how. To me, that was a huge oversight that he was not interviewed by more teams. So hopefully we can get him on the new staff as we go forward. Now, what's always on the staff are the viewer comments on this show, and we will begin today with Dwayne Lumpkin, 4400, who says, if the Browns don't interview McDermott, I think Schwartz and Lynn should be the top two candidates. They both have the best resumes because they have experience at multiple levels, including assistant and head coach. And Dwayne Lumpkin, you are picking up what I was just putting down, because I agree. Like, I don't think you could go wrong with the McDermott thing. I mean, there's already reports that he's going to take a year off. But, there's just only 4 jobs left. And the Raiders and the Cardinals are fighting over Kubiak. So who knows what's going on there. And then you got the Bills. I think eventually they're going to promote Joe Brady to head coach. But I guess that depends a lot on Josh Allen. Josh Allen will make that decision. But Brady's out interviewing for jobs himself. So, there could be a wild card here this week. Now that, we're down just to 2 teams in the Super Bowl, and, there are other guys that are freed up. Remember, we talked to Chris Shula, defensive coordinator at Seattle. And don't forget, pitcher's still out there, too. We talked to him. So, there are still a couple of, I'll call them back-end candidates that could come back into the mix here in the next couple of days. But I think they're going to go out there full-fledged now and hand it to Scheelhaase if he wants it. That's what I think. So that's where I think this is going. ComSense25 says, steal Josh McCown as quarterback coach. And this is not a bad idea. He's Minnesota's quarterback coach. Now, he was there with when the whole thing with Darnold started. So he was part of that. Now Darnold's on his way to the Super Bowl 2 years later. But he was he was with Udinski in Minnesota. And if Udinski was still in the mix, that would probably be an easier sell. If Udinski was coming here to be a head coach, they'd say, hey, Sean, why don't you guys come here and recreate your magic with Shedeur? But everybody loved McCown when he was here in Cleveland. And so he was almost like a player coach when he was here the first time around. And that is another guy like Lynn. So how about that? You can add Lynn as running back coach. McCown is the quarterbacks coach. We still have Musgrave. And Musgrave and Shedeur have that connection because of Dion. Dion and Bill Musgrave played together in San Francisco. So, we're not in a horrible situation with our quarterback coach. But if you wanted to go a little younger route, a guy who understands Cleveland, knows what we're all about, and knows what it takes to develop a quarterback. I mean, I won't call Darnold a young quarterback, but he was still, his career was pretty much rock bottom, and they reinvigorated him, and now look at him. He's on his way to the Super Bowl. So common sense, man. I don't disagree with you. I think Josh McCown would be a nice addition to this staff. That's my point. Even if you have a young head coach, if you build the experience underneath him, it's going to be fine. Everything is going to work out just fine. Aretha Barnes, 8396 says, as bad as that O-line is, we're not wasting a pick on a quarterback. The quarterback room is set unless they want to get rid of DG, meaning Dillon Gabriel. Now, here's the thing. Yes, the offensive line is terrible. And yes, we are going to use a lot of picks on offensive line and wide receiver. But Aretha, the quarterback room is far from set. Shedeur is set. Shedeur is QB1. No doubt about that. But after that, it gets a little murky because Zappi's gone. All you got left back there is Dillon Gabriel. So we are either going to have to sign somebody, or even add, maybe like we talked about the other day, drafting a quarterback late round and adding them to the mix. But Dillon Gabriel right now is the backup, and that's all we have. So we're gonna need an upgrade. We're definitely going to need an upgrade, and that's their free agency is a possible way to go, as well as Mandel Harvey would like to chime in on the free agents that we mentioned the other day. So the only reason to get Mitch Trubisky is to make Dillon Gabriel look like a franchise quarterback. And I said, well, I had to remind him that Trubisky is a complete upgrade from Dillon Gabriel, because Trubisky filled in for Josh Allen week 18. He went out there and threw 260 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. And it was against the Jets, but went out there and threw for 260 yards. It would take Dillon Gabriel 4 games to reach 260 yards. Like this is not even a conversation to have. I'm sorry, Mandel, but Trubisky is a complete upgrade from Dillon Gabriel, and he probably won't cost you that much. But I don't see the Bills letting him go. But that's the type of free agent quarterback we have to look for. Somebody who's more of a prototypical quarterback, who's not going to cost us a ton, and who'll be happy to share his experience with Shedeur. I think he's a good fit, and he's from here. He grew up he's from Mentor, went to Mentor High School, about 20 miles east of Cleveland. So I think that, because that makes it an easier sell. Come back home and, help us out. Help us win a Super Bowl. That's what I'm thinking. Bullish Roger Dodger, 5276. This is what we teased at the top. Bullish Roger Dodger says, do you get paid for supporting Shedeur Sanders, the worst quarterback we ever had? Are you in love with Shedeur Sanders? I don't understand why you would want the worst quarterback we have ever tried. Don't make sense. Dillon Gabriel has way better mechanics and numbers. Wake up. First of all, Roger Dodger, I don't get paid for supporting Shedeur Sanders. What I do support, though, is the Browns winning. And I also support not having to look for a quarterback anymore. We have a first-round talent that fell to us in the 5th round. And Andrew Berry traded 2 picks to move up ahead of Philly to get him. So he obviously saw the talent that is there. But Roger Dodger, I have to tell you, Shedeur Sanders is our QB1. Without a doubt. We have to build around him and see what we have. The problem with the haters, and I've mentioned this a couple of times before, is you guys are all so worried about looking for the next best thing that you can't even see what you have in front of them. The stats, everybody wants to throw. We've already talked about, we've gone through all this, Roger Dodger. Shedeur Sanders is QB1. There is no way, shape, or form you can tell me that Dillon Gabriel is a better option than Shedeur Sanders. And then the haters always want to bring up the interceptions, but I always make the point to say that it is very difficult to pick off a 4-yard pass. That's all Dillon Gabriel can throw. He can't stretch the field. He's undersized. He's left-handed. The conversation's over. He's a backup at best, and I don't even know if he's a backup. I always say he's the left-handed Colt McCoy, but I think I'm doing a disservice to Colt McCoy by saying that. He should have never been taken in the third round, and he probably should have never even been drafted in the first place. He should have been an undrafted rookie free agent. But the reason we have to get behind Shedeur, because there is not a quarterback that is worth taking in the first round in this draft. After Mendoza, I mean, the Raiders will take Mendoza. After that, it's a complete crapshoot. There are no sure things. And we have a guy who now has 7.5 NFL games under his belt, who's going to get a new offensive mind to help develop him and take him to the next step. We're going to have a better offensive line, more weapons at wide receiver. This whole offense is going to be completely transformed, and Shedeur will have the keys to take us and get us to the playoffs next year, and he will. That's what I support. I support my team, and whoever the quarterback of my team is, that's who I'm going to support. Shedeur Sanders is the quarterback of my team. Thanks, Roger Dodger. Appreciate the hate. We'll end today on Mike Blakesley, 3753, who says, Pittsburgh a mess, Baltimore a mess, Cincinnati a mess. Why not Cleveland's time? And I completely agree. That's the other thing we have to remember here. The division is there for the taking. We have ample opportunity to revamp this offense and just waltz in. I mean, because remember, they're dealing with a new coach in Baltimore. They're dealing with a new coach in Pittsburgh. Completely different philosophies. They're probably going to have to get used to things. But for us, we have all of this draft capital, all of the cap space that we have. We're going to transform this offense. We already have an elite defense. Defense wins championships. You already know that. We're going to have experience on the coaching staff along with the youth. Hopefully it'll be Scheelhaase by the end of the day. But Udinski stepping away, it's not as bad as it seems, folks. It's okay. We're still in a great spot because we could end up with everybody wants Schwartz in the first place. If Schwartz ends up as the head coach with Monken at OC and Banda, I am completely fine with that. That is an experienced group that understands the division, knows what you got with Shedeur. They'll go out and get the guy. Look, I mean, Monken, look what he did with Lamar Jackson. Turned him into an MVP. So he will be in great hands. So no matter what, we're in a great spot. No matter what happens today, we will just let it all play out. But if you're all in a tizzy about Udinski, don't be. The Doogie Howser of football is out. The boy genius is still in. Let's go. All right. We'll follow it all day. Go Browns! We'll see you next time.